Emma, are you really so sure about your husband? Do you think he's not chasing other women when he goes on his trips? There's no such thing as a man who doesn't cheat. They're all like that. My ex, Oliver, cheated on me, and so did Paul. Your Stephen is probably no exception. If I were you, I wouldn't be so naive as to trust him blindly. Her friend's words echoed in Emma's mind like an annoying tune. The soft evening gradually enveloped the city, as if draping it in a black blanket studded with bright stars. But something in her soul kept her from finding peace. Emma kept replaying the conversation, trying to make sense of it. What if her friend was right? Her husband had never given her any reason to doubt him, but lately, his business trips had become more frequent, and when he returned, he acted reserved, as if he hadn't missed her and wasn't eager to embrace her. The phone rang, startling Emma. For a moment, she thought it might be Stephen calling before bed. She had seen him off on his trip that morning and already missed him. But the screen showed the name Andrew, her once close friend. They used to talk often, but Stephen had grown irritated by their occasional messages, accusing Emma of disrespecting his feelings. Still, Emma couldn't completely cut ties with Andrew. They had known each other since childhood, shared their deepest secrets, and always supported each other. I just don't like him, that's all. Something's off about this Andrew guy, Stephen had said when Emma tried to understand why he was so annoyed by him. He's just trying to get you into bed. Stop talking to him, Emma. And now Andrew was calling. Stephen wasn't home, but Emma still tensed up, afraid that if her husband found out about the call, his jealousy would flare up again. Yet she couldn't ignore it. What if Andrew needed help? Her heart beat faster. Hey, Andrew, it's late. Is something wrong? She asked, her voice tinged with worry. Hey, Emma, sorry for bothering you so late, but I really need your help, Andrew replied. Lola's refusing to eat again and can barely get up. I think she's dehydrated again. I can't remember the name of the condition the vet diagnosed last time. I have the medication, but I can't administer the form myself. No good at that. Taking her to the clinic is a problem. My car's in the shop. I tried calling a vet, but they all say I need to bring her in. Emma, do you know anyone? You work at a vet clinic. I'm so sorry to bother you. I'll pay whatever it costs. Can you give me some contacts? Lola was an old dog by canine standards. She turned 12 last year. Emma remembered the large Labrador as a tiny puppy. Back then, she, Andrew, and Lola often went for walks together, chatting about everything and playing with the dog. Emma recalled how Lola once knocked her onto the grass and started licking her face, looking at her with loyal, intelligent eyes. For a moment, Emma's heart had skipped a beat. She had always dreamed of getting a dog, but her parents disapproved, and her husband was firmly against pets. Stephen didn't like the idea of fur in the house or the smell he claimed dogs always had. He often grumbled when Emma came home from her shifts at the vet clinic, sending her straight to the shower. Andrew, try not to worry. She's not doing great right now, but I'll come over and set up in 4. If needed, I'll add some vitamins. I've got my emergency kit for cases like this. I think we can get your girl back on her feet today, Emma said. Seriously, thank you, Emma. I'm really worried about her. She's not young anymore, Andrew replied. Emma tried calling Stephen, just in case, thinking that if he called later and found out she wasn't home, he'd likely get jealous. His phone was out of service. Emma pressed her lips together, suppressing a slight pang of resentment, and headed to Andrew's place. They used to live near each other, but Andrew had moved, and soon after, Emma got married and moved in with Stephen. The distance between them had grown, but it wasn't a long drive. When Emma arrived, she went straight to Lola. The dog looked unwell. Emma set up in 4 and injected a small dose of vitamins into her scruff, then gently scratched behind her ear. Hang in there, Lola. You're our real queen, aren't you? Lola licked Emma's hand, as if thanking her for the help. I gave her a mild sedative to help her rest tonight. She'll feel much better tomorrow. I'd recommend a course of vitamins, or picking up some specific meds. I'll write down the names. Do you have a pen and paper? Andrew brought a notebook and pen, and Emma jotted down which vitamins to buy and how to administer them. Thank you so much, Emma. You have no idea how much you've helped me. Want some tea? I stopped by a bakery and got some pastries. Or are you rushing home? Andrew asked. Emma figured there was no harm in having a cup of tea with him. She decided to thoroughly explain what to do if Lola's condition didn't improve or, God forbid, got worse, though she doubted that would happen. The dog was mature, but still spry enough to outshine any young pup. As Andrew poured tea and set the table, Emma mindlessly scrolled through her phone. Then she saw a photo tagging her husband. She froze, her breath catching in surprise. Opening and zooming in on the image, Emma confirmed her eyes weren't deceiving her. The caption read, "Vacation with my love," followed by a string of heart emojis. Her heart sank, her mouth went dry, and her palms grew clammy. "Are you okay? You just went pale," Andrew said, concerned. "Maybe some water?" "No, I'm fine," Emma replied. "Andrew, you work with photos. Can you look at this picture and tell if it's been edited? Maybe it's Photoshop or something else. There are so many apps now that can make photos look totally real." Andrew scratched the back of his head. "I can take a look, but no promises." Emma handed him her phone with a trembling hand. He studied the photo, his expression darkening. He let out a low whistle of surprise and looked at his childhood friend with sympathy. "Wow, I don't know what to say. I can't confirm it's real, but I don't see any obvious signs of Photoshop. If someone edited this, they're a master. I could download it and check the metadata if that would help. But I don't want to ruin your marriage if my skills aren't enough. Isn't Stephen home right now?" Emma shook her head numbly. She explained that she had seen Stephen off on a business trip that morning, and now she'd stumbled across this surprise. He hadn't even called to say how he'd settled in. Just sent a brief text saying everything was fine. "If I were you, I'd probably message the woman who posted it and ask how she's connected to your husband. Maybe he has a twin brother or something," Andrew suggested. "No, he doesn't have any brothers," Emma replied. "Thanks, Andrew. I think I'll do that. Or maybe not. If he's got a mistress, why would he let her tag him? Didn't he think I might see it?" A flood of questions swirled in her mind. Emma barely remembered drinking the tea. She didn't eat anything despite Andrew's offer. He suggested she stay over, but she got behind the wheel and somehow made it home. Now, sitting in her empty apartment, Emma stared at the photo of a happy couple basking under bright sunlight. Her heart ached. Her husband was on vacation with a mistress. At whose expense? When Emma had suggested a beach trip, Stephen brushed it off, saying they didn't have money to waste on such nonsense. He was saving up for a nice car, always eyeing the shiny new models at the dealership. And now, it seemed, he was spoiling his supposed mistress. In the morning, Emma was jolted awake by a call. It was Stephen. She thought maybe his mistress had tipped him off about her seeing the photo, but he acted as if nothing was wrong, saying he was swamped with work and wouldn't be able to call often. He asked her not to call or text too much. He didn't have time for chit-chat. There was no response from the woman who posted the photo. Emma poured herself a coffee. It was her day off, and she considered visiting Andrew in the evening to check on Lola and maybe give her more vitamin shots to help her recover faster. She texted Andrew, who replied that Lola was doing great, but that they'd be happy if she stopped by. They agreed she'd come over after lunch. Later, Emma got a notification from social media. The mistress's name was Veronica Nikki. She had replied, "Hi, it's nice to meet you. I've been asking Stephen to introduce me to his older sister, but he kept refusing. It's great that you reached out." Emma burst out laughing. First, she was 5 years younger than Stephen. How could he call her his older sister? And second, his mistress had no idea she was dating a married man. Quickly typing a reply, Emma sent it without rereading. "Have you ever checked his passport? You might find out his sister isn't quite what she seems. My name's in the marriage stamp. Veronica reread Emma's message several times, her cheeks flushing and even her ears burning. Could Stephen have been lying to her? But why? He'd said he was ready to introduce her to his family, claiming they were all a bit off, and he was the only one with a sharp mind and strong character. Now, shocking details were coming to light. While Stephen was at a massage included in their resort package, Veronica rummaged through his suitcase and found his passport. She'd never thought to check it before, but now she couldn't stop herself. The truth hit her like a ton of bricks, and tears streamed down her face. For the first time, Veronica had met a man who, she thought, didn't care about her money. She'd fallen head over heels, only to discover he was a liar, vacationing on her dime. She immediately texted Emma, apologizing and admitting she had no idea about Stephen's marital status. She asked Emma not to tell him she'd seen the photo yet. A plan for revenge was forming in Veronica's mind. She wanted to teach the liar a lesson, make him confess his deception, then humiliate him and leave him with nothing. Emma, being kind-hearted, promised not to make a scene. She asked Veronica to confirm that she was indeed with her husband and that it wasn't some clever photo manipulation. Veronica called Emma via video chat and showed her Stephen's passport. I'm afraid he'll be back soon, and I don't want to ruin the surprise I've planned for his deceit. I'm so sorry, Emma. If I'd known he was married, I never would have gotten involved. Don't worry, I won't say anything to him, and I'll move out of his place today. You can do whatever you want, even forgive him or decide to stay married. That's your call, Veronica assured her. Great, but I'm definitely not marrying Stephen, Veronica added. She'd had enough of fortune hunters in her life. With a high-paying job at a prestigious company, her own downtown apartment, a fancy car, and no shortage of suitors, possibly thanks to her striking, almost doll-like beauty, she didn't need this. Her grandmother used to say, a beautiful woman rarely finds true happiness, and maybe her prediction was coming true. Veronica hid her true emotions, but her plan seemed perfect. Stephen had often said he wanted to marry her and spend the rest of his life with her. That wish would come true tonight at the restaurant. She booked a table, paid for live music, and asked for the event to be recorded. What a beautiful place. Usually, guys order music for their ladies. You surprised me by picking this song for me, Stephen said, blushing. This isn't the last surprise tonight, love. I wanted to treat you since today marks 6 months together, Veronica replied. Stephen was thrilled, already anticipating a gift, maybe a new phone or a fancy watch. He'd lied to Emma, saying his workplace had rewarded him as their best employee. Could she be giving him the keys to the car he'd been dreaming of? Veronica stepped onto the stage, thanking the musicians for their excellent performance. Behind her appeared a sharply dressed woman. Stephen watched, confused by the formality. Dear restaurant guests, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'd like to share my joy with you. I've finally met an honest, devoted man who's won me over with his kind heart. Such people are a rarity these days. Stephen, please join us. Beaming with pride, Stephen strode onto the stage to applause, grinning widely at the attention. Stephen, you asked if I was ready to marry you. Now I can say yes. To save time, I've already invited a registrar who can make us husband and wife right now. The crowd clapped, but Stephen's face fell. He stammered that he'd left his passport in the room and wanted to see his bride in a white dress. Veronica pulled his passport from her clutch and handed it to the registrar. What could ruin such a joyful moment? I've taken care of everything. Stephen went pale as a ghost, frozen for a moment before lunging for the registrar to grab his passport. But she was already announcing the groom's name loudly. Veronica played the part of a humiliated and hurt woman perfectly. Stephen worked at a construction company and feared losing his job, so he avoided publicity, or so he claimed. Whether he held such an important role was now questionable, but such rumors wouldn't be tolerated there, even if he was just a courier or janitor. Veronica knew their scandalous photos would spread online. While it wouldn't hurt her reputation much, Stephen would likely get fired. He tried to explain, saying Veronica misunderstood him and that he planned to divorce his wife, but she didn't listen. She had hotel security escort him out, as he was no longer welcome in their room. Stephen sold the expensive watch Veronica had given him to buy a plane ticket home. As she predicted, the news spread fast. 2 days later, his boss called, telling him to find a new job. Stephen couldn't reach Emma. When he returned to their apartment, he found a note saying she wanted a divorce and not to look for her. For a while, Stephen was lost, unsure what to do. He eventually mustered the courage to contact Emma's parents, but they offered no help. Her father even threatened to knock his block off if he saw him. Meanwhile, Emma was staying with Andrew. It was convenient for getting to work, and she was helping nurse Lola back to health. Andrew supported her as best he could, avoiding talk of her divorce and distracting her with anything to keep her spirits up. Stephen waited for Emma outside the vet clinic where she worked, demanding she explain why she filed for divorce without talking to him. But Andrew arrived at that moment, picking Emma up with a bouquet of flowers. That morning, she'd taken her car for maintenance, and Andrew had promised to drive her. "So you found someone else? I knew I was right to tell you to stop talking to him. This guy's been waiting to swoop in," Stephen sneered. "Nothing's going on," Andrew countered. "Admit you failed as a husband. You're the one who cheated, so don't blame Emma for the divorce. We're just friends, always have been, always will be." Stephen spat on the ground and walked away. A month later, Emma and Stephen were divorced. While walking in the park with Lola and Andrew, Emma suddenly looked at her friend, smiled, and asked, "Did you really tell Stephen the truth? That we're just friends and always will be?" Andrew met her gaze. "If you looked into my eyes, you'd understand. Love's hard to hide. I've been in love with you for a long time, which is why I could never build a relationship with anyone else. But if you ever decide to give us a chance, we'll still be friends, even if we become a happy couple. I'm sure you'd be happy with me. I'd never hurt or betray you because, like a wolf, I choose my partner once and for all." Emma smiled, reached out, and their fingers intertwined. Veronica found her happiness too, but who her chosen one was and how she tested his loyalty is a whole different story. Thank you for listening to the story until the end. Subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends and loved ones. It motivates us to keep working on new stories every day. Don't miss the next amazing story that's about to appear on your screen. We're very grateful to have you with us. See you soon.